Hey everybody, it's Andy from the outdoor program and Campus Rec. Hey, I wanted to make a couple of quick series of videos here of how to do some real quick and easy mapping on your computer and how to move that around to some different programs and then take those maps out with you when you're going hiking or snowshoeing or just want to go explore with some friends. And yeah, so I'm going to show you a website today that is becoming really, really popular amongst the outdoor recreation community, and that's called caltopo.com. And this first video is going to cover a couple of the layers that you can use on Caltopo, as well as how you can kind of save maps and create a profile. We're going to look a little bit at kind of creating and adding some points on the map, some waypoints, so that you can mark certain features. And we'll also kind of wrap up this video by talking about how to kind of draw some lines, measure distance, and use some of the basic tools on CalTopo. Now, the reason I really like CalTopo is because if you go to Google Maps, there's really not much here to look at in terms of what we would want to know if we were going to hike to Grey Rock, which is a popular hiking spot outside of Fort Collins. We could toggle back and forth to this, satellite view, which can kind of help us a little bit. But the basic map layer here on Google Maps is pretty basic, like I said, and it's not too fancy. And it doesn't tell us usually where the trails are or anything like that. It's it's pretty basic, like I said. So I don't actually use Google Maps for a lot of my mapping of going out and hiking and ski touring and things like that. I tend to use caltopo.com. And so that's just caltopo.com, Caltopo. Now I've been on Caltopo a lot, so I even have it up here in my favorites. So if I click it, it's typically going to take me to the place that I look at a lot, which is Cameron Pass and the top of the Poudre Canyon. But when you land on Caltopo, the first thing it might have you do is, it might be all the way out here in the United States. And what you can see with Caltopo's original concept was to take all of those old USGS quadrangle maps and kind of stitch them together. In the past, we would have to, get one map, one quadrangle map, and we'd have to get another one. And if we had the area that we wanted to go to kind of covered both of those maps, we had to carry both maps, and it was really fairly cumbersome process to have to deal with. If you were wanting to go out into the backcountry, you'd have to carry multiple maps of areas. And so you can see what they've done here is that they've stitched together all those old maps so that they're kind of seamless. And so that's really cool. And so that's kind of the first layer that CalTopo will often take you to is this, what they've called here the 7.5 quadrangles. And that's the basic layer that they're going to show. So when you land on the CalTopo site, there's going to be a little menu here, and there'll be, kind of some preset layers here. And the one that's typically preset is that 7.5 topo map here. So let's go back down to kind of Grey Rock. We're going to use Grey Rock as our example today, and we could locate it right here. Grey Rock Mountain right there up in the Poudre Canyon. And this is on the 7.5 layer. But the layer that I really like the most out of all of these is this map builder topo layer. And if I just click that, it'll now repopulate and show me the map builder topo. Now this is completely free. This is the great part about CalTopo, is that this is completely free to view and use. You don't have to have a membership, and that's what makes it so awesome and available to us as folks who want to get outside. And what I really love about this map builder topo is that it's pretty new and accurate, and it contains the trails here marked in red. The roads and things are typically marked here in black. And it contains these red lines here, dotted lines of the trails. It's also really cool too because they have the distances already there, and so you can kind of add up the math in your head. Oh wow, it's about almost 3-ish miles to the summit of Grey Rock from down where the trailhead is. And so that's really helpful in determining, how long a hike is going to be and how long it might maybe take you. And so I tend to work pretty heavily off this map builder topo layer. Now, if you want to toggle back to the 7.5s, you can do that pretty easily. If you want to go to the Forest Service layer, this is a layer that's taken from the United States Forest Service information and the maps that they have. This is also another great layer that I like a lot. Another cool layer that they have here is this aerial topo hybrid, or the hybrid satellite. That can be really helpful if you want to, like, let's say, zoom in here to where the trailhead is, and we want to get a sense of what that might look like. We could click on this hybrid satellite layer, and you can see that, the trailhead here can zoom in. Here's a couple of cars here that people are parked at the trailhead, and so you can get a sense of kind of what it's going to look like. Are there trees? Here's the Poudre River. Here's the bridge that crosses the river. So that can be really helpful too. If you're a person who's really interested in how steep this terrain is, how steep these slopes are on these mountainsides and these hillsides, there's another layer here called slope angle shading, and that will show you the angle of the slope kind of by color here. And this is really helpful for folks who like to go backcountry ski touring. We use this layer quite a lot because most of the time we're trying to really avoid avalanche terrain, and avalanches typically happen here starting in this kind of 30 to 45 degree range here. So anywhere that's really marked kind of orangish to red is, what we would consider avalanche terrain if this were, covered in snow. This isn't typically high enough to get snow, but the slope angle shading layer is a layer that we use a lot in the winter time, and you can get a sense here of how steep Gray Rock is, how much it shoots up out of the ground here, this big granite monolith that it is. So let's go back to the map builder topo layer for a second and just kind of start there. So like I said, I really like this because it shows the trails. It's typically very updated, and it's a great layer to just do a lot of the work off of. Now, if you want, I highly encourage you to sign in with Google, because if you do, I'll go ahead and sign in here, and it'll kind of show my Google account is Andy Nelson there, and the email's there, I guess, if you want to shoot me an email. But now it's kind of popped me into my own account. And what's really cool here is that now anything I do to this map, I can save for a later date for free, completely for free, on CalTopo, which is really nice. Now, if I want to go to my maps that I've saved here, you can see here that I've got a lot of kind of backcountry skiing maps that I've created over the years and for the outdoor program. But if I were to click on any of these maps, I could just go to any of them and continue to work on them, or look at any lines or anything that I've drawn, routes that I've drawn, and things like that. So you can also share them and things like that and do a whole bunch of stuff on your account. And so I highly encourage you to create an account. Now, anytime I change this map in any way by like adding something, like adding a marker or a line or something, then it'll prompt me up here to save the map, and it'll ask me if I want to save. And so we'll see that here in a second. So cool. So let's say we were going to go hike to Gray Rock Mountain, and we wanted to first create a waypoint on where the trail first takes its first fork, which is right down here in the valley here. So what we could do here is come up to the add object function, and you can see here that there's a lot of options here for adding objects. There's also some other layers you can look at. I don't usually use a lot of these. Sunlight analysis is kind of cool. It'll tell you like where the sun is going to be shining in the terrain. But let's just say we want to add a general line or a general marker waypoint to where the first fork is. I can just click marker here, and I can come over here and change the color to whatever color I like. I'll go ahead and do green for CSU Rams, and I can click and drag this around anywhere I want to go. I can put it right there. And there's my first waypoint. I'll just name it waypoint 1. And hit OK. And you'll see it shows up here on my markers, and it's listed there as waypoint 1. I can go in at any time and edit this if I'd like. Just got to click it. I can move its position. I can edit it by kind of clicking and dragging it around here. Let's say I wanted it to go to where the trails meet again. I could click it up there. Could save it here. Could put any kind of style if you want. Whole bunch of different options here. Let's say I want to just put a little, arrow here, or you want, yep, arrow or any other kind of, you know, marker you'd like, little pinpoint there. Cool. So that could be our first waypoint. So you could put waypoints all throughout the trail. You can click and drag them, put them anywhere you'd like, and that's really helpful for when you're trying to maybe get a sense of what the distance may be between two objects. Let's say I wanted to know what the distance is between this waypoint here is and the top of this little hill. Then I could put another waypoint there and then measure the distance. So that's what adding those objects. You can see here that I can save this map if I'd like to. I'm not going to right now, but I could if I'd like to. It'd prompt me to, name it. And yeah, so you can add a bunch of different waypoints and objects into the map, and it's really nice. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer here to Gray Rock, and you can see our waypoints still down there, and talk about adding lines. So we had these couple of different things here. We could add a line if I wanted to just, like I said, add a line from waypoint here. The cool part about the map builder topo layer is it's kind of smart in that it'll click to the trail here. So I could kind of click onto the trail and it should, as you can see, kind of snap to the trail and snap to the trail, double click to stop. So I could kind of create a line there. You can see it's telling me it's at 0.82 miles. So it's really convenient to add these lines. Again, it doesn't have to go to the trail. If you just want to do what's the distance between waypoint 1 here and the top of that ridge line there, you can just stop it, double click it there, and then I can click on this line. And there's a whole bunch of information here. 0.9 miles. I could click on terrain statistics and get a sense of what the elevation changes in between that distance, which is really, really helpful. What the elevations are, what the slope angle is, what aspect it's changing, all kinds of cool information that we can kind of get interested in as we go and explore an area. So yeah, we can put lines, we can put waypoints on there. If you want to, you can measure all kinds of different stuff by measuring points, or I often will measure distance between two areas. If you just want to measure, the distance between the waypoint here and the summit of Gray Rock Mountain, it won't be a permanent line, but it'll tell me just in general it's about 1,400 feet distance-wise. If I want to know what the terrain difference was, I could use what's called that terrain statistics here and go waypoint to Gray Rock Mountain Summit, double click. Here's that terrain stats again around what the minimum and maximum and elevation is. Again, we'll go back up and you could do profile, which is very similar, waypoint to Gray Rock Mountain, and this will just give you it's about 632 feet difference, and it'll kind of travel that line up there. It's pretty cool. So that's just a great way to kind of get a sense of the distances between things and and how long it's going to take. And so let's kind of put it all together by just figuring out what is the distance round trip from Gray Rock trailhead to the summit. So we could really easily do that by just coming over here and adding a line, and we'd start our line down here at the trailhead, click it, and that's going to kind of drag it through until it snaps. I'll take it to waypoint 1, boom, clicked it once. Now I'm going to take it to the summit, see if it'll do it. There you go, click it once again. Now I'm going to come back once, click it again once, and see I'm waiting for it to kind of click to the line. See if it'll do it. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to double click and my line is created, and you can see here's my line. I could come in and edit it again and call it Gray Rock Trail total, total distance or whatever. Hit OK, and now it's in my lines and markers area as Gray Rock Trail total. And if I want to get a sense of what the distance is and what the elevation changes, you can see here that it's going to tell me the total distance if I come over here. It's about 6 miles. Yeah, about 3 miles each way, so almost 6 miles with a gain of 2,000 feet in elevation. And so that can be really, really helpful for planning a hike. If I want to exit out of that and come back in and click the edit button, I can do that. I can edit it again if I need to. So it's really nice. If I just click on it here too, here's the terrain statistics, just the whole thing. If you want to see it, what the distance is, and almost 6 miles here. It also includes your waypoint. That's kind of cool too. So lots of options there for creating routes. And now, you may not do this for every little, day hike that you go out on, but let's say you were going to plan, a multi-day backpacking trip through, a wilderness area in Colorado, and you were going to spend 2 nights out on the trail. You could easily use this system to figure out, how many miles you're going to hike every day, and what the elevations are going to be and what waypoints you want to have. And so, yeah, it's all really nice and accessible. I encourage you to play around with it. And in the next video, we'll talk a little bit about how to take this map off of CalTopo, and how to either print it off or export it to Google Earth, or even then what I like to do is export it and put it on your phone. So stay tuned for video number 2, where we take this from CalTopo and move it to something else.